Thanks a lot for this invitation to talk about my city, Bogota. I am living in this city that is the capital of Colombia, and I would like to share some information on what the city has been doing over the last 2 decades and what is doing particularly in the topic of road safety. Uh, Many of you know, Colombia is a country in the upper west corner of of South America. Bogota is the capital, and the capital is very high up in the mountains. It's in the middle of the country, and it's very high up in the mountains. It is 2,600 meters above the sea level. Uh, it's a large city for these region standards, probably not as big as the mega cities of India, but we live in the city of Bogota, 7.7 million people, and the city is pretty dense. What the city has been doing over the last 2 decades is applying the avoid, shift, improve paradigm for sustainable mobility. The city is dense, so it's taking advantage of its density for the trips to be not that long. The city has been investing a lot in walking, bicycling, and in public transportation, and it's also helping with the improvement of the vehicle fleet. So the vehicle fleets are have less impacts on the environment and has less greenhouse gases. Regarding density, we're not as dense as Mumbai, but we're considered a dense city. It's probably one of the densest city of the Western Hemisphere, with 13,000 people per square kilometer. It's a little bit less than half of the density of Mumbai. But this density helps a lot because the trips tend to be short. We have 5 to 7 kilometers trips, and many of these trips can be done walking or bicycling, and you don't really need a motorized vehicle for most of the trips that are required in the city. And comparing the density of Bogota with other global cities, our top density is, it goes up to 59,000 people per square kilometer. It's less than Delhi, that the top density goes to 75,000, but it's much more than Tokyo, that is regarded as a transit city, and it's much more than London, as the London School of Economics has reported. What the city have been doing to take advantage of this density is put a lot of emphasis on walking, bicycling, and public transportation, with the objective of reducing traffic fatalities, reducing vehicle emissions, reducing energy consumption, and reduces greenhouse gases, and abate congestion and inequality. All this together has been taking place over several governments, several city administrations over the last 20 years. And I'm going to show some of the examples of what Bogota has been doing. Bogota has been improving pedestrian spaces. This is an area downtown that used to be a 4-lane street that was replaced completely with a pedestrian walkway, and is one of the most beautiful parts of the city. Also have been doing a lot of improvement of sidewalks. This was a project 20 years ago in which the sidewalk was occupied by parked vehicles, was put as a sidewalk for the people to be able to walk on a really good facility for walking. And this happened in many other parts of the city, but probably the most impressive walking project in Bogota is a 17-kilometer walkway called Alameda El Porvenir, which connects very low-income communities in the city. And it was put before the roads for cars were there, was put this facility for walking that also has a biking facility. And regarding bicycling, the city has been producing a lot of segregated cycleways that are in many shapes and types across the city to provide the people for commuting opportunity in bicycle. And as a result of putting these, currently Bogota has more than 500 kilometers of permanent cycleways, and it's also working on some additional cycleways this year during the COVID pandemic. Uh, 532 kilometers that have been helping many Bogotanos to start using bicycle for their everyday trip. We didn't use the bicycle. The bicycle was not part of mobility in the end of last century. We were less than 1% of the trips in bicycle according to the origin destination surveys. Now, with the same origin destination surveys, we see that it's almost 7% of the total trips. It's an incredible growth that is facilitated by this infrastructure, but it also with other policies for making safer in terms of personal safety and also road safety for bicycling. There is another source that is called Bogotá Como Vamos that indicates that bicycling is more than 10% of the total trips, depend on the methodology of gathering this information. But bicycling became an important mode of transport in the city of Bogotá through the policies for supporting bicycling in the city. And the other side of the sustainable mobility agenda is the improvement of the bus system. We did have these very diverse fleet of buses running around the city that were very informal in terms of their operations and organization. And the city in 2000 started the implementation of a bus rapid transit system to replace this former system of individual public smaller buses. And it also it has been done this BRT system in different parts of the city with different conditions. This, for instance, is in downtown. This is a transit mall that only allows for buses and people to walk. There is no space for everybody in this part of the city. It's a space for walking and for buses. And the total network of BRT in Bogota now is expanded to 114 kilometers, plus the feeder services that are part of the system. And it moved before the COVID 2.5 million passengers every day. So it's a mass transit system based on buses. The city is thinking and working for a metro system right now, but the rail system is coming after we have this extensive network of BRT. We are also working in the city of Bogota on reorganizing the buses, these informal buses that you saw in one of the pictures, into an integrated system for the whole city. As a result of all these investments, probably the most important achievement of the city of Bogota over the last 20 years has been that the ridership, the percent of trips that are done in public transportation has kept almost flat. We are a growing city in terms of the income of the people and the activity, and given the investment on public transportation and the other sustainable modes, we are not reduced, we are keeping the percent of trips in public transportation. And I think this is a great achievement of the city of Bogota. We have not increased the percent of trips using motorcycles and cars that much. We have increased a little bit, as you saw, the use of bicycles and also walking as a complement of that. But keeping the model share of public transportation, walking and bicycling above 80% of the trips have been a big achievement of the city of Bogota. Of course, things have been very dynamic in each category. In terms of public transportation, we have been replacing the semi-formal system of buses with the formal system of BRT and SITP, and gradually we have expanded this through the whole city. We are only, right now only 10% less than 10% of the trips in the informal services, while the formal system keeps growing. In terms of walking, in terms of automobiles, there has been surprisingly some reductions in the use of automobile, but there has been an increase in the use of motorcycles. Motorcycles are now an important part of mobility in the city of Bogota. And we have increased a lot the use of bicycles. Part of the use of bicycles in detriment of walking Probably that's not great, but that's the growth of bicycling in the city, as I showed you already. In terms of impact of these policies and these result in terms of moral share, the city of Bogota has improved a lot its air quality. From 2010 to 2017, you can see the comparison of the critical areas for bad air quality. This has been a result of this very good uh, use of the public transport system plus walking and bicycling, but also because the diesel quality has been improved a lot. But the city keeps working on other strategies to improve air quality because there are still some issues. The improvement has been very important, but there are still some issues. There's also, and probably a uh, very remarkable result of reducing fatalities. Between 1996 and 2006, fatalities from road traffic were reduced by 60%. We have 1,300, and now the city is between 500 and 600 fatalities per year. And while the country keep growing, the city of Bogota is stable over the last 14 years. It's very interesting that uh, despite these improvements, when you see Bogota in terms of congestion, congestion is still a big issue. Bogota is the third city, according to some index of measuring car travel. It only measures car travel. Is the third city around the world, according to this metric of TomTom, in terms of congestion. We're just ahead of congestion in Mumbai in terms of congestion, but it only measuring the congestion of cars. In this chart from TomTom, the top city is Bengaluru, and followed by Manila and then Bogota. Uh, but this is only affecting less than 20% of the trips in the city that are in car and motorcycle. The rest of the trips, walking, bicycling, and public transportation, are less affected by congestion, as the buses of the BRT system have this priority that allows them to move faster and provide better service. Bogota, very recently, not since 20 years ago, only 4 years ago, adopted Vision Zero as part of its strategy for road safety, recognizing that humans make errors and are vulnerable to impact, and that the responsibility is shared among all, so no death or serious injury is acceptable. Taking more a proactive approach than a reactive approach to road safety, and the result of the city of Bogota, of the policies of Bogota, some of them supported by the Bloomberg Initiative of Global Road Safety, has been a really interesting decline over the last 4 years in the number of total deaths. We were kind of stagnant in the number of fatalities between 500 and 600, but the last 4 years have been continuous decline, and this is part of the policies under Vision Zero. One aspect that has not been that great has been fatalities of bicyclists. Now, the fatalities have grown a little bit, but the number of cyclists have increased much more. It's still work of improving the road safety for cyclists. Their safety by numbers, more bicyclists on the road is more safe per trip, but it's an area that needs to continuous work. And the main strategy to reduce fatalities over the last 2 years have been the establishment of a speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour. It started in some corridors, not all over the city, in some corridors, but right now it is the speed limit for the whole city, maximum speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour. This follows the recommendation of the World Health Organization regarding road safety management, and had a really, really good result in terms of the corridors that started, had a reduction of 38% in the number of fatalities. This is really, really impressive, and has been kind of the main result of the Vision Zero strategy in the city of Bogota, has been this 50 kilometer an hour speed limit. And during the pandemic, the city of Bogota was able to reduce because of the reduction of activity. Also, there was a reduction in fatalities, but the reduction in fatalities was bigger than the reduction in activity. So this limit of 50 kilometers an hour has been really, really effective in terms of also reducing fatalities for road safety during the pandemic. To finalize, I'm gonna show a short video. This is one of the corridors of Bogota. It's Carrera Séptima. And Carrera Séptima is one of the places where there has been a fast implementation of a cycling facility that has increased enormously the use of bicycles during the pandemic. It's part of more than 80 kilometers that were introduced this year 2020, and is resulting in a rapid increase of use of bicycles. This shows how the city of Bogota has been able to introduce several measures of sustainable mobility and the road safety measures, adopting Vision Zero, and it's still has some challenges, but has been able to show great improvements in road safety, air quality, and also equality in the transportation system. So I hope this information from Bogota is useful. I hope really helps the work you are doing in Mumbai, in Delhi, and in other places in India. We are really happy to continue supporting your efforts. And if you have any question or any information you need from Bogota, I'll be very happy to provide that information through our partners in India.